Bring in Mallory Carroll. She's the Vice President of Communications for the Susan B. Anthony List. That's a nonprofit that works with elected officials to support their conservative platform, and among that, of course, is abortion issues as well.
So, Mallory, let's get right to it. What's your reaction to this draft opinion, this leak that happened today, and what we've learned?
Well, it's certainly shocking. I mean, this leak is unprecedented, but we are hopeful if the final decision reflects and resembles in any way this draft, we'll be very pleased. It will be the court at long last, after 50 years, taking their thumb off the scale and allowing the American people, through their elected representatives, to use the tools given to us by our founders, to employ the tools of democracy and pass laws that reflect the values of the people. And in many states, a pro-life majority has been crying out for reasonable limits on abortion that have been prevented by Roe versus Wade and subsequent abortion rulings from the court. So this will be a great win for the pro-life movement. We are hoping to see a robust debate in many states, and of course, the aforementioned, automatic laws that will go into effect to protect unborn children. But this is important that the people decide, and a majority of Americans support some limits on abortion. Even half of all Democrats support limits on abortion, and that's not what we have right now because of Roe versus Wade. The United States is actually an international outlier, allowing abortion on demand up into the moment of birth, paid for by taxpayers in many instances. And we're on a list with China and North Korea in that regard. A majority of our Western European allies, 47 out of 50 European countries, limit abortion at 15 weeks, if not earlier. Most limit at 12 or 13 weeks. So we want to start to move the law more in line with American consensus, with humanity and modernity, because we know so much more about the unborn child than we did in 1973, and so much has changed. It's time to modernize our law.
So it is true that European countries do have some restrictions, but so do the United States. The Supreme Court allows for restrictions on late-term abortions, and the state's interest increases in protecting the unborn life as the pregnancy goes along. That has been true since Roe, and since Casey, there's been more room for that. And you say most Americans support some restrictions, and that is clear. But a new ABC News Washington Post poll shows the other side. 58% of Americans say that abortion should be legal in all or most cases, according to that poll, and 54% said that the court should uphold Roe versus Wade. Bill Clinton probably captured the public mind the best when he used to say abortion in America should be, quote, safe, legal, and rare. And I know the GOP base wouldn't accept legal. It's doubtful the Democratic base would say rare, but that's probably the muddled middle where the American people are. What do you say to those Americans who say that they want some freedom to choose?
I certainly wish that the Democratic Party position was still, as you outlined, Bill Clinton's position of safe, legal, and rare. Unfortunately, it hasn't been that for some time. The Democratic Party platform position has changed on this to be paid for by taxpayers without any restrictions whatsoever. The law that Leader Schumer is pushing in the Senate right now, the very deceptively named Women's Health Protection Act, would make abortion available without limits, paid for by taxpayers, performed by non-doctors across America. That's what they're trying to do. And that position is a very radical and very outside of, it's repellent for many Democrats as well. So I would say to any American in the middle, I would ask them, as we are doing, as we go door to door in battleground states, where they think that abortion should be limited. I find that when you just ask people their own position, what's going on inside the womb, like when a child's heartbeat is beating, when they can feel pain, where do you think a restriction ought to be? And most people support reasonable limits. Certainly what Mississippi has done to limit abortion after the point an unborn child can feel pain. And I'm 14 weeks pregnant. My child already has a preference for using his or her left or right hand, sucking his or her thumb, responding to to external factors, input from the outside world. So it's just amazing everything that we know right now about unborn children in the womb and the way that abortion impacts women's lives. We are fortunately, despite all the politics and the policy, America is increasingly pro-life. Women are choosing life with increased frequency when faced with unexpected decisions. I think that has in large part to do with everything we've learned, the window to the womb we have through ultrasound and all the advances, the viability standard, which has become increasingly outdated, babies surviving as early as 20 weeks. And I have to say, I'm in Washington, D.C. There's a late-term abortionist here who does abortions post 30 weeks, past the point where children can, way past the point where children can survive outside the womb. And there's nothing illegal about that here in the district. So you might want to check about the impact of Roe versus Wade and Doe versus Bolton, because the abortion jurisprudence taken as a whole has created this radical status quo. Most Americans don't want to be on a list with China and North Korea in extremely permissive abortion laws.
So let's say Roe versus Wade is overturned. What then is the role of your organization?
The role of our organization is to assist legislatures at the state and federal level as they debate and engage in finding consensus. Consensus is going to look different. Mississippi has arrived at 15 weeks. Oklahoma, they're deciding to protect life much earlier. States like New York and California are going to continue to be extremely permissive when it comes to abortion. And that is just the reality that we're going to be pushing for the most ambitious pro-life laws that we can get that are supported by the will of the people, and that's going to look different state to state.
And I just want to ask the question that often comes up, which is, do you believe if abortion is murder, women should be punished as criminals, as either accessories or accessories to premeditated felony murder or murderers themselves? And if not, why not?
Abortion is indeed the taking of an innocent human life, and the pro-life movement has never advocated for the criminalization and penalties for women.
Why not?
Because as Susan B. Anthony and other her compatriots, they saw abortion as an exploitation of women, a way for men to cover up crimes of rape and infidelity and other sexual behavior.
So I just want to get this right. So that excuses women. No other criminals. I mean, Charlie Manson's dad beat him.
It doesn't.
Every criminal who commits a murder has a reason. A lot of them have been very tough. Had tough lives, have been exploited, have all kinds of things. The criminal law doesn't holds them accountable, but somehow women need to be, what, are you infantilizing them? Are they not grown-up people who can make such a choice?
Absolutely not, but it's
so
the
punish
abortionist.
Them.
It's the abortionist who is taking the life of the unborn child. It's the
They're accessories to felony murder.
Who's breaking the law.
They are accessories. They are making a premeditated decision. They're grown-up people. They know what they're doing. If you really thought it was murder, wouldn't you punish them?
If that's your policy position, then you should run for Congress, and good luck trying to...
I'm asking you why it isn't yours.
And because I've stated that abortion is an exploitation of women, we want to rally around women and support them, make sure that they have the resources that they need to be able to choose life for their children. And it's the abortionist, the one who profits from the procedure, who deserves the punishment.
And the poor women can't make up their own minds like adults and should be coddled. But I guess that's your position.
Mallory Carroll,
Sounds like
Vice President.
No, it's not.
Definitely, I know him well, it's not. Mallory Carroll, Vice President of Communications for the Susan B. Anthony list. Appreciate your time. Thank you.